Good morning, everyone. Our spiritual retreat facilitator this morning is a professional counselor and life coach in Christian Medical Specialist Care Foundation and a trauma care specialist of International Justice Mission. She finished her Doctor of Education degree in Counseling Psychology from Asia Graduate School of Theology, Masteral of Arts in Counseling Psychology from Asian Theological Seminary with undergraduate degrees in Christian Education and HRM from Grace Bible School and UP Diliman respectively. Before working as a professional counselor, she served as a campus worker in the early 2000s. So she understands student ministry very well. She loves reading and spending time with people, telling stories about her life adventures. She is happily married to Kuya Vic for 26 years and they love dogs. They have dogs. So let's give a Zoom welcome, a Zoom hand to Ate Dr. Lou Mandalupe.
Good morning. Okay. Nice to be here with you during your National Leadership Summit. Is it, the first time ever, no, that you're gathered together, the whole Philippines, I guess, different regions, different provinces and campuses. Actually, I served as a campus worker for almost 20 years. I started as a student leader myself when I was in UP. I went back to my alma mater in high school, Manila Science High School, and started serving as a campus worker in my high school when I went to college already. So uh, that was the start of my involvement in campus ministry. Although when I was in Manila Science, I got to serve as a student leader um, from first year to fourth year. So that's my spiritual journey. That's where I got to know the Lord. Okay, so is it okay? Can you hear me, guys? Can you like put a thumbs up if you're hearing me? Uh, and is it okay to share my? Okay, good. Uh, how about the others? Do you hear me quite well? Okay. So, sige, I'd like to share my screen so you guys can see what I'll be talking about this morning. Uh, okay. So, so we are all in this crisis, right? I'm sure it's quite a challenge for everybody. Ang lagi nga sinasabi, it's okay to not be okay. Why? Because the situation is unprecedented. It has never ever happened before our time. Even I, who's quite older than most of you, I've never ever experienced this type of situation where we're all forced to stay at home and we're prohibited from interacting with people. For persons like me, I'm sure you will not be in campus ministry if you are not a people person, right? So it's quite a challenge right now to be in this
Unmute po kayo, ate. Ate Lu,
have to unmute. Yeah, I back to mute. I unmuted na. Can you hear? How
Yes,
about
Pote, we
that?
can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, okay. Okay. So who among you, maybe we can have a show of hands, or the host can see, um, is quite affected by the crisis that is called COVID-19 or the coronavirus pandemic. If you are affected, then you're normal. Why do I say that? Because the situation is the thing that's abnormal at this time. Uh, it has never ever happened before that businesses are closed for such a long period of time. Even schools are not allowed because of the risk involved sa mga kabataan. So parang alam mo yun, kailan pa naging danger ang school, di ba? Only at this time. And everybody's grappling, di ba? Yung parang we're scrambling for resources in order to cope with what's happening now. And even as Christians, we're not exempted from the difficulties of this situation. We have stronger resource, which is the Lord. We focus our eyes on Him. But if we're going to be truthful, we're also dealing with a lot of fear and anxiety, even as we, try to focus our eyes on Jesus. It's an ongoing reality that we are not exempted from whatever is happening around the world. Sabi nga, 'di ba, the rain falls both on the good and the bad. Hindi pwedeng yung mga masama lang yung uulanin, babahain, or magsasuffer ng difficulty at this time. We're also in it with them. So our mental health is equally affected because we cannot be parang oblivious to what's happening around us. So the sudden change in our environment also produced a lot of changes in our daily routines, disruption of our day-to-day activities. Like whereas before, you wake up, you try to get ready for school or work, and you try to be as fast because you'll be battling with traffic and all that. Now you wake up and sometimes you don't even want to go to the bathroom to take care of your needs, because where do you go to after getting up from your bed? So it's kind of disorienting that your normal routines are no longer there. There's also social isolation. If you are locked in with your families, that may be a good thing or a negative thing also. Good thing if you are in good relationships with them, but negative if it's something that is problematic, and even though you're with them, you're still socially isolated because you cannot connect with them. So it also affects your physical presence, in the sense that if you love going to fellowships or worship services and activities in the campus, now you cannot go out, so you're physically isolated. If you're an extrovert like me, that seems like uh, punishment. It's like yung sa preso, yung Bartolina, because you're cut off from people. You cannot even hear any sound probably, and sometimes even there's no window there, and there's sometimes even no light because you're being sensory deprivation. So it's like that right now. There's social and physical isolation. And given the fact that most businesses, had to close shop for uh, the past 3 months or so, there's a lot of financial losses. And many of our kababayans are not able to earn anything because there's no work, no pay. So how can they provide food on the table and for other needs? Like if you get sick, you don't really have resources. So the financial losses are really massive at this time. For some who are blessed with work from home, they're, at least able to earn and put food on the table. But there's always that risk of what if, the work stops because businesses are not really doing so well at this time. So, and the nagging fear of the virus, it turned into general community quarantine already, starting June. But the risk of working but contracting the virus is very high. In fact, uh, it's doubled or tripled already in terms of the number of infected. UP Diliman's research even predicts that by the end of July, we will reach 80,000. So it's really something that on our own would really be shaking us and making us uncertain and so very fearful. So because of those changes, I'm sure you're familiar with the word stress. It can be actually abused and used so much to the point that it misses the real meaning. Stress can be anything that disturbs your normal physiological or psychological functioning. So if it already causes you to become sickly or bothered to the point that you're overthinking it, it becomes a stressor. And stress can be precipitated by even favorable circumstances, like probably a test or a promotion or a new responsibility that is given to you because you're trusted by your leaders. So it can be favorable, but even more so if it's an unfavorable life situation. And it brings along with it a lot of negative consequences because of that event. So we're not exempted. Even I think the most prayerful, the most committed Christian would struggle with this from time to time. And that's why most of our battles really are fought on our knees because we cannot do it on our own. So, what types of stress are you experiencing right now? So, it can be the emotional stress. It usually occurs in situations that you find difficult or challenging. So, it also depends on the person. If you're kind of emotional or sometimes you hear the word empath, that you feel almost everything that's happening around you, you're more vulnerable to the emotional stress because you are so attuned to what's happening to other people that you journey with them emotionally. So you're also affected by what's happening around you. So the more sensitive you are to other people's needs, just like most missionaries or campus workers or Christian workers are, then you can be more vulnerable to emotional stress. Because you care a lot, you're also affected a lot. So another type of stress is physical stress. This comes when your body already reacts to the various triggers that you are experiencing. It can be because of overwork, because of a lot of responsibilities, not being able to set boundaries, healthy boundaries that you don't have, time off, like time to shut down your gadgets or not respond to texts or emails, not even having probably a Sabbath. And so there are already physical reactions or sometimes illnesses that can be triggered because of the stressors around you. So these are the things that can bombard you on a day-to-day basis that when you're young and you're still kind of energetic, you sometimes ignore them, ignore the signs. But technically, it accumulates. So if you are putting on a lot of stressors, garbage in, and you're not able to let it out in a healthy manner, then there's no way to put the garbage out. And so you become more and more burdened by the challenges around you. So what are these things that may contribute to your stress? Your attitude. So if you're the worrier and you're the quiet type that you don't have any confidant or any outlets to deal with your stress, or you're kind of the gloomy, not so positive, somewhat pessimistic type of person, you can be more affected by stress. That kind of attitude doesn't enable you to bounce back because you're kind of weighed down by everything that's happening around you. But if you're the Filipino type who has a sense of humor, you have a positive outlook, then it becomes easier to bounce back from the stress. So it also depends on what type of attitude you carry with you. Diet also plays a very big part in your managing of stress, because if you eat healthy diet, if you have a healthy diet, your body has a lot of energy to fight back all the stressors. You don't get overweight or you don't get underweight, because either extremes, of course, is not healthy. So if you can maintain a healthy diet, you eat, sabi nga, eat breakfast like a king, diba? And then dinner as a pauper. Parang, ang ano doon is you have energy for the day, but at the end of the day, na you don't, you cannot burn it anymore because you're going to rest, just enough so that you don't have hunger pangs during the night. And your physical activity, it will also complement your diet, because if you are an active person and you exercise, you can have the happy hormones. The brain activity will be healthier because you have enough nutrients, and you move and you use that energy in a positive way. And as I've said before, if you're the quiet type, you don't have a lot of outlets or confidant, then the support system can also be very much deficient. So as much as possible, you have accountability partners, you have mentors, you have prayer warriors backing you up in prayer in whatever task or ministry you're supposed to do. And when you're going through a difficulty, you have someone to confide in. Um, because our fuel is love. If we don't have people supporting us and loving us and encouraging us, it will really be a very stressful life. So, and as workers, it's not wrong to relax. You also need time to take care of yourself, and having habits that you enjoy doing, good habits that you make use of. These are what helps you relax. So you have to have a self-care program as well in place. So, but all of us, of course, is prone to sometimes succumb to stress. So what are the signs that we are already like being affected negatively by stress? So like do a monitor check of your bodies right now. Are you feeling tired already? Even when you have just gotten up from bed or just woken up, at the start of the day, you're already feeling that fatigue, that tiredness in your bones that you cannot explain, when you should have had a good enough rest during the night. But when it's already like a deep-seated fatigue or tiredness, then it could be stress-related because you haven't really done any physical activity yet to merit being tired. But the tiredness seems to be cumulative already. So that's from stress. And if you're having what we call headaches that can be because of tension or overthinking, then it's a sign of stress. If you're not really physically sick, like you don't have a fever, you don't have a cold or cough, and then you have headache, it's not yet COVID. Sometimes people panic and feel like, oh, I don't have fever, but I have headache. But it can also be because of stress. So when you are having pain in your body that you cannot really explain, it's not coming from any physical, reasons, then it could be because of stress. And when it's coupled with a temperament that you're already unable to probably control your irritation or anger towards situations and people, it's clearly a sign of stress. Because normally you wouldn't be angry at such a small thing. The stressor is sometimes this small only, and then you explode. So that could be accumulated stress. So if you are also having loss of appetite or increase in appetite, that, excuse me, I'm sorry. My dogs are being loud. So if you're losing your appetite or you're doing stress eating, that's also a sign. Because normally, if you're stressed, you either don't like to eat, or for some people, they start eating comfort food, which is not that healthy. Like some would eat chocolates or ice cream or cake, the sugar fix to replenish the energy that they think they have lost from overthinking. And even though you are, trying to concentrate, you cannot concentrate. That's also a sign of stress. So when you are cramming, for example, for an exam, you're stressed about the coming exam, and you try to cram and study hard, but you cannot focus. That's also because of stress. Or when you're supposed to make difficult decisions, probably major decisions in life, like uh, what course to pursue, what job to take, maybe major decisions including whether to drop this course or not. Um, these decisions are difficult to make when you're under a lot of stress. The more that you will make mistakes in making these decisions, if you are not finding your center or finding your peace with God. So some people, when they're under a lot of stress, they increase use in alcohol, caffeine, or even cigarettes and drugs. Of course, these are what we call bad behavior, or what we call maladaptive coping behavior. Instead of helping you, it will add to the stress. But because they feel like they need to hold on to something, they sometimes become more addicted um, to the crutches that they use, and they go about doing this unhelpful or unhealthy behavior, and all because you're feeling overwhelmed. You can come to a point that you don't know anymore what to do, and you're out of your wits, out of resources to deal with whatever is bothering you, and this can become overwhelming to the point that they have, very bad stress reactions. So what are these stress reactions? Behavioral. Can you think of ways where you tend to behave when you are under stress. Some may resort to sleeping a lot or Netflix binging or maybe going out with barkada to gimmick. These are behavioral reactions. So you may be doing some behavior that you feel comfortable doing it because it relieves you somewhat of the stress that you're feeling. For unbelievers, most of these behavioral reactions tend to be, um, you know, to relieve the pain. Like, that's why some people drink a lot, some people smoke a lot, or even take drugs. These are their way of coping with the stress, so they need to do something. Some actually engage in sex because it's an outlet as well. So these are unhealthy behavioral reactions. For believers, hopefully your behavior will be to draw closer to God, to pray even more, because it's overwhelming for you. You go to a higher source, to the higher power. But it all depends also on the spiritual disciplines that you are used to. So, what do you do when you're under stress? And emotionally, this can be like up and down of emotions. So many emotions running around. It can be fear, it can be anxiety, it can be um, sadness. For some, it can become even to the point that they become suicidal because they're overwhelmed. Cognitive reactions are, not being able to concentrate, not being able to think uh, very well. If you're an expert, for example, in math, suddenly you find yourself that you cannot make, simple mathematical computations because your mind is overloaded already with worry. It cannot function the way it usually functions when you are not under stress. Physiological reactions are anything that happens to your body. Like, you may have an upset stomach, you may have diarrhea, or hyperacidity. These are physiological reactions. And if you are constantly under stress, your cortisol also shoots up. It's like your body is always on a fight or flight reaction, and you're always geared up to do something, and it tires you because it's like being in a boxing match because you're overly stimulated by the stress. And spiritual reactions can vary depending on how strong your walk with God is, how close your walk with God is. It can be the other extreme, that instead of being closer to God, you drift away from God because you blame Him for everything that's happening around you. You even blame Him for the wrong choices, probably, that you have made. Anything that hurts you, and you cannot, blame it on other people, you ultimately blame it on God. So it really depends on how strong your spiritual foundations are at this point. Because the weaker you get, the more you blame God. But when you are walking closely with God, it can, drive you deeper. Sabi nga, take me deeper, take me deeper in love with you, as the song says. So it really depends on what our spiritual formations are. And the more that we undergo stress, it will determine how we will put our trust on God, or how we will, drift away from God. So, like Peter, when he was walking on water, you remember that incident? The moment that the waves, overwhelmed him, he lost his focus on Jesus and he started to sink. But when he called for help, Jesus was there to extend his hand right away. and pulled him out of the waters. So it depends on us. Do we focus our eyes on Jesus and walk with him, or do we sink because of the waves that are overwhelming us? So how do you manage your own stress? Think about your own ways of managing your stress. So management is learning, or it involves controlling and reducing the tension. You know that something is problematic and it's causing you um, various stress reactions, emotional, physical, even spiritual, and mental reactions. So you want to take control of that and reduce the tension because it's not a very good situation. So you then try to make emotional and physical changes. How do you do that? You find resources that you can utilize to lessen the emotional pain. For example, you probably find a confidant, someone that you trust, an ate or a kuya that you can talk to. That is one way of helping reduce the tension because you have emotional connections that can help relieve the situation. And you also make physical changes like if you're not having a healthy diet and it contributes to becoming sickly, you need to change your lifestyle. Or if you're not sleeping enough, and that's the reason why you're always tired and always lethargic and not very positive, then you need to sleep at least 8 hours. um, Healthy nga daw is 10 p.m. onwards, because that's when the body repairs itself. So you can do several things that can help manage the stress. But sometimes our lifestyle is also part of what causes the stress. That's why you're in this problem, because you're also creating your own problems by not taking very good care of yourself. So the degree of stress and the desire to make the changes will determine how much change will take place in your life. So you cannot just blame external reasons or causes of your stress, but you have to take responsibility and control what can be controlled, meaning what is within your power to change. That is your responsibility. So we cannot just keep on like blaming God for not taking care of us, or for not sending the answers, because sometimes there's a story that goes like, um, there was a big flood, and when the flood was knee high, he went to the second floor, and that's an answer, right? And when the flood reached the second floor, he went up to the roof, and when he was on the roof, he started praying, Lord, please send help. And then this neighbor who has like a bangka, a raft, or passed by, and he said, come and join me, save yourself. And the person on the roof said, no, no, God will send help. Go ahead. So the neighbor went ahead. The person on the roof kept on praying, Lord, please send help, send your miracle. And then the helicopter arrived, and this like Air Force, where you're trying to lower down ropes and get people who are stranded on the roof. And this helicopter tried to rescue him and let down the rope, and he said, no, I don't need you. God will send help. God will send his miracle. And so the helicopter left because he was adamant not being rescued. And then the flood rose some more, and the person drowned. And when he was in heaven, he was asking, God, why didn't you send help? I was praying for a miracle and you didn't send help. You weren't there for me. But see, I provided for a second floor for you, right? I provided a neighbor for you, right? I provided the helicopter for you, right? And all this you didn't recognize as God's help because you have a perspective that is clouded by um, probably misconceptions, not knowing who your God is. And sometimes that's how we look at stress. We see it as always outward coming in, external, and I cannot do something about that. I'm just a victim. But no, you can make changes. You have the locus of control. God has given you the resources, God has given you the wisdom, the intellect, etc. All those internal resources to make changes so that you can manage stress and become stronger because of it. But you didn't do your part. So sometimes it's not really Satan who's at fault or other people who's at fault, but we cause our own sets of problems. So what has the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation done to you? I'd like you to look deeply within and be truthful to yourselves. Like, this external challenge is causing me different sorts of reactions. And has this caused me to have an increased risk in depression? Uh, as I've said, if you're kind of pessimistic and you're not a very positive and happy person, you may have an increased risk of depression because the situation is not going away yet. And it has been several months of this challenge already. Maybe on the initial month you were doing okay, or maybe not, depending on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it as, this too shall pass and it will, be better soon, the increased duration or length of the challenge can ultimately eat away at your positivity. So you may be having um, bouts of depression already and you are struggling. And your anxiety is, unprecedented. You have anxiety and panic attacks whenever, the 4 o'clock update before is coming out. You kind of anticipate the worst. And even your sleep probably is very badly affected, especially now that you don't have a morning schedule. You may be like not sleeping a lot anymore during the night, and you tend to fill it with activities that are not very healthy for you. So sleep problems can be an added stressor and can be a symptom of bigger problems inside. So where are you in all this? You need to monitor whether you have a tendency to be depressed. So if there's a lot of sadness, mood disorder, like you cry a lot, or maybe you're just listening to music and then you become really really sad, um, and you start not having pleasure or not enjoying the things that you used to do. Like before, you see your mom or dad or siblings, you are happy because you miss them. Now even their presence is not, a comfort for you. Or before, you enjoy some time of playing your games in your computer, or maybe watching a season of this in Netflix or whatever. This brings pleasure to you before, but not now. So that can be a sign that the lack of pleasure is a sign of depression. Or even your weight or appetite has drastically changed. Either you have lost a lot of weight because you don't have any appetite, or you're um, eating a lot and stress eating. And the fatigue that I mentioned before, that as soon as you wake up, you're already tired. And it's because you probably are not sleeping very well, or you're sleeping, but it's on and off. And there's the feeling of worthlessness that, whatever happens, it doesn't really matter anymore. And you don't have any concentration. Even when you pray or even when you read your Bible, you can't seem to grasp the words. And even simple thoughts like, what am I gonna eat, what am I gonna wear, seem to be difficult decisions for you already. So that, if you have 4 or 5 of this um, behavioral manifestations, then you're a candidate for depression. And hopefully, you will seek help even before thoughts of self-harm or suicide comes to you, because any 4 or 5 of this is already an indicator that you need special help. So, how about anxiety? Are you becoming too worried about what's going to happen next? How long will this last? Will this really be 2 years, as some predicts, or will this be, better by end of 2020? May meme nga na sabi, please delete or please reboot 2020 because, there's a virus. But we tend to worry too much about what's gonna happen next. And the worrying, robs us of our peace. We're too restless, or always tired or irritable. And, you can feel the muscle tensing, like you're not doing any hard labor, but your muscles are aching. There's muscle pain because you're always ready to fight. You're anticipating danger, and that shows that the cortisol is really high, and it's not very healthy because it's like always in a war mode, uh, even when you cannot see the enemy. So it robs you of peace so that you cannot even sleep, because slumber is really a sign of trusting God and being able to entrust everything to Him. That's why you can sleep like a baby. That's actually what the expression means. That you are so unworried and relaxed that you can sleep like a baby, because you trust that somebody's there taking care of you even while you sleep through the night. So if you're that much anxious, you also need to maybe reach out for help to your mentor, accountability partner, your prayer partner, so somebody can journey with you. Two is better than one, for when the other one falls, the other one can lift him up. So hopefully you will find that person. How about panic attacks? Have you found yourself having palpitation? Like, you don't have a heart problem. You're very young. You're not supposed to be having this, palpitation, but your heartbeat is so fast. You're sweating or you're having chills. Either you're sweating profusely, or you're like shivering because of panic. Uh, Two opposites, but actually the same cause. You're shaking. You're having difficulty breathing. It's like having a heart attack for some people. So that's why sometimes we tell them to bring a brown paper bag and try to breathe in and out through the paper bag to stabilize breathing, or to have long, deep breaths to relax. And sometimes there's a feeling of choking. You're just saying something and then you start choking, or you're drinking water, you can't even swallow the water because of the panic that's building up inside you. And as I've said, chest pain that may mimic or seemingly look like a heart attack, and yet then you go to probably an ER and you're normal, all because it was caused by panic. Or nausea, like feeling like you're throwing up, or even like losing your balance, being dizzy, or having probably vertigo like symptoms. And another extreme would be numb, like your body is not feeling anything, your extremities, your hands, your feet are feeling numb because of panic. So sometimes this can happen. We're not exempted, not really, we're not Superman and Superwoman just because we are Christians. We need to learn how to be dependent completely on God. So, how do we cope in this new normal? Probably now that you're always at home, you may become, addicted to the internet. So sometimes you really have to have a strict discipline that you follow a certain schedule every single day. That you limit your screen time or your game time or your watching time to a few hours only a day. And do what you're normally doing. Like before, you probably are exercising, running around the block or running around the subdivision, or if you're from UP, you sometimes go to the oval to run around and keep yourself fit. So you have to have a strict schedule still, even though you're at home. So you limit your screen time. Like, might be good to have, a daily planner and plot your activities for the day, so that you know whether you're overdoing something and overlooking some other things. So you need to not be addicted, because it's so easy to do the comfortable things like Netflix binging, or social media addiction. You're always on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever social media platform you're in, and you forget to connect with, for example, your family members. uh, Many call this pandemic a reset, a pause, so that we will recall, what are really the important things. Why are you here? um, does your life revolve around activities only that you do outside the home, or do you also need to devote time to nurture relationships with your family? So this may be that time. If you've missed out on that for the past 4 months, it's not yet over. You can still catch up and reconnect with the people you care about, people who matter to you, and express yourself. What does this mean? You need to find people that you can be honest to, accountable to, and if that is not possible at this time to do face to face, there's Zoom, there's Viber, there's Messenger. All these things can help to be able to connect with people outside of your home and express yourself, like when you need to ask for prayers, or you need counsel, you need actually, even worship is done online because we need feeding, spiritual feeding. And there are a lot of online worship services being broadcast live on Facebook or on YouTube. So these are opportunities to reconnect, or even maybe go back to journaling or writing your thoughts. Maybe this would be the time to blog, or to write poems, short stories, etc. You may even write your own book. This can be a time for that, to be able to share something that comes from within. So we always say you cannot give what you do not have. So you have to develop yourself in order to be able to be a blessing to others as well. So this would be a time to fuel your mind and body. Like this quarantine time, I've had opportunities to attend a lot of webinars. I've enjoyed, listening to other people, learning from them, catching up on the things that I enjoy doing. Because before, I was too busy with ministry, and the traffic almost always consumes most of my time. So there's very little time to engage in reading, or attending seminars, or even taking care of my body, sleeping enough, and um, eating healthy, because sometimes you eat a lot of fast food when you're out, but when now that you're in your own home, you can prepare healthier food. So these are ways to improve uh, yourself. So the new normal can be actually beneficial. Yes, of course, the virus is a bad thing, but you can learn how to make the most of this time by improving yourself, having a healthier body and mind, so that you will not get sick even if you have to go out sometimes. So you focus on things that you can control. What are the things that you want to learn? Maybe you can enroll um, a course online. I even, tried researching about Open University, because even after having my doctoral studies, I miss studying. And that's how I nurture myself, learning, growing. So that may be a good thing to focus on during this time, so that at the end of the quarantine, for however long it may be, you have a degree that you finished because you focused on things that you can control. Like maybe you need to review for something, a board exam or something. You can have this time unhindered by external activities. So you can still be productive depending on your goals, your personal goals. If you don't have a goal, definitely you won't accomplish anything. But if you have a plan, and I'm sure God has a plan for your life, and you just allow God to make it happen, then you can become productive. And at the end of 2020, for example, you will remember the good things as well, because it wasn't wasted. The time wasn't wasted. We're already halfway through. So what are you doing with your life? But of course, all these things need to be balanced with relaxation. Self-care is a very important aspect. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. He doesn't really need to rest, but he was setting an example. It's not a sin to relax and to take care of yourself, because you're the tool that God uses to reach the world. If the tool breaks down, you won't be effective for long, because you're burning the candle at both ends. There's no glory in dying young if it was because of carelessness and neglect. Wisdom, prudence is based on making wise use of your resources at the proper time. You don't use a lot to the point that you are exhausted. You pace yourself. You know your limits. You set healthy boundaries. And you relax. I read something that you don't dance as if nobody's watching. Actually, that's a good thing already. Because sometimes when you feel like somebody's watching, you are very shy, you're very self-conscious. But if you dance like nobody's watching, you can be carefree and relaxed. But there's a better way pala of doing it. Dance like a child. Why? Because even when there's no music, a child dances. The music is in his mind, and he just enjoys the moment. So dance like a child, and not be afraid of being criticized or judged, relax. And when you know that things are still too much, you can always ask for help. We are in this together. Kaya nga yung hashtag heal as one. We're all in this together. And that's true. We're all running the race set before us. It's not who goes to the finish line first, but it's actually all of us finishing well. So if somebody is falling down in the Special Olympics, they're not running to get to the finish line first. When another one falls, another runner stops and helps, and they reach the finish line together. That's what we need to do. We cannot do this on our own. The work is too much for just one person. And it wasn't meant to be. In fact, Jesus sent them two by two before. Now that we cannot go out, we can still encourage one another. And that's the beauty of technology. We can use it for the glory of God. We can use it to edify one another. But we need to ask for help when we need it, because nobody can uh, be omniscient and know where you are, know what's happening to you. So we need to check up on one another and encourage one another. So um, we will break out into groups. I'd like you to do a self monitoring, because when we go out into our breakout groups, we'll be talking about what's happening to us. This would be the time for you to share from the heart where you are and what you're struggling with. So your guide questions are provided to your breakout leaders, and hopefully this will be a time of transparency and accountability. We're not here to judge anybody, because everybody is having a hard time. We just need to accept that we're not yet perfect. We're in the process, yes, but as we go through the process of being um, molded and you know uh, challenged and perfected until we see him face to face, we are having some rough spots as well. So let's all help one another by um, knowing where we are and how we can lift each other up and finish the race together. We still don't know how long, so we need to be there for each other for as long as we can, until we see Jesus face to face. So let's go back to our um, host. Can we do our breakout sessions in a few minutes? Hello, are you still there?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Okay,
Yes po,
so
naka-range na ata.
Hello, hello.
Yan.
Hello.
Sinong breakout groups?
like, have you
Um,
divided them into groups so that they will have enough time to talk about what they're going through right now? And then after the breakout, we will come back and probably share a bit, per group, or whoever feels like sharing, and we'll wrap up.
Tapos na ako.
Like how many minutes? Depends on how big the groups are. So they will have enough time to share one after the other.
hello, yes po. Um, thank you po muna kami sa inyo, Ate Lu, before we go to our breakout group. Kung okay lang po. So,
Sure. Mhm.
para tuloy-tuloy mamaya. So, we have e-certificate for you, Ate Lou.
Mm.
Tignan nyo na lang po sa screen. I-show yan. Maraming
Okay.
salamat po in behalf of National Leadership Summit 2020 staff. We appreciate you so much. Salamat po. And, asa na? Ayan na! Okay.
Wow. Pa-email
Opo, opo.
Something I'd like to keep. Thank
Opo,
you.
opo. Salamat po for helping us get a grip of our mental health for the time of processing and
Mm.
for the practical help. Indeed, having minds
Mm.
that are settled and at peace in these times can help us do better as apprentices of God. So, we would like
Mm.
to ask for your urgent prayer request po. And,
Mm. Well, my request, of course, is good health for the family. My husband is pastoring an outreach church in Payatas, so he regularly goes there also and ministers to the people. Protection, of course, for him, especially when he goes out, and also for our church members to continue trusting God even during this difficult time that they're kind of stretched in terms of financial resources, and we're just praying for blessings also so that we can extend help to them. And yeah, we're all doing the best we can, and hopefully I also have more opportunities to come alongside people through counseling. I do a lot of online counseling now, so wisdom and being able to really you know be an encouragement to the people that God sends along my way. So like IVCF and other Christian organizations that I partner with, we're all in this together. So I hope to be of service as long as I can, as much as I can. Thank you.
thank you po, Ate Lou. Um, Ayun po yung mga messages ng mga participants. So,
Oo
pwede niyo
nga
po,
I'm reading nga
pwede niyo pong
the
basahin
chat.
mamaya. And,
Oo nga.
so,
Oh, we'll still go back naman
opo,
after
opo.
the
Sige po.
workshop. So I'm also open to questions, or you can
Yun,
actually
yun.
still communicate, kasi kanina medyo puro ako.
Opo.
Later will be listening to the people. Thank you din sa mga messages. I'll keep on reading them while you're on your breakout session.
Okay po, ate. For now, we
Oo.
will pray for you uh,
Okay. Thank
for a
you.
minute.
I
So,
received that.
lahat tayo
Okay.
guys, mag-pray natin si Ate Lu, si Doc Lu, at i-close tayo ni Kuya Pau after 1 minute. So, okay lang na nakamute tayo. Okay lang na nakamute tayo. So, and let's pray.
Okay, manalangin po tayo. Maraming salamat po, Panginoon, sa inyong paggamit po sa aming speaker for SR ngayong umaga, Panginoon. And thank you for reminding us, Lord God, sa aming paghahanap din ng aming peace sa inyo. We pray, Lord God, for Doc Malu, Maria Lourdes, na kayo po yung patuloy na mag-protect sa kanila, Lord God, sa kanilang family, at sa pinupuntahan po, Panginoon, ng mga kasama po niya sa bahay. We pray, Lord God, na kayo rin po yung mag-bless, Lord God, patuloy sa kanilang ministries at sa kanila pong sa kanya pong mga counseling sessions din, Lord God, lalo na ngayon sa panahon ng pandemic. Pray, Lord God, na you continue to use her and give her, Panginoon, yung wisdom sa kanya pong patuloy na pakikipag-usap, Lord God, sa iba't ibang tao, Lord. Salamat, Lord, sa kung paanong siya po ay yung ginamit nyo upang makausap po kami din ngayong umaga. Thank you, Lord, and tulungan niyo po kami, sabayan niyo po kami, Panginoon. Samahan niyo po kami sa aming patuloy na pagre-reflect ngayong umaga. Salamat, Lord, Jesus, in we pray. Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you so much ulit, Ate Lou. Sa mga first time akong na-meet online, ako si Ate Kane, staff ng MMRU. Ayan, this time we'll go to our breakouts. We'll have small group sharing for the SR. So sa each small group, you will have your ate or kuya that will facilitate yung guide question na binigay din sa atin ni Ate Lee. So, ang sa atin ay will have 30 minutes or the whole duration ng SG. Sa 30 minutes na yon, for 10 minutes, I encourage everybody to have their own personal reflection. Afterwards, ay magkakaroon na kayo ng inyong small group sharing. So, ulitin ko lang po yung nabanggit kanina ni Ate Miss Pa sa instruction niya na during our breakout session, click nyo lang po yung join para ma-move kayo sa breakout rooms. After ng breakout sessions ay automatic na po kayo ma-redirect back sa main room natin. Please, huwag nyo pong i-click yung leave. Kasi kung i-click nyo po yun, mawala kayo sa Zoom na meeting na ito. So, ayun. For our SG facilitators, andyan na sa inyo yung guide. So, ayan. Yan. After this, ay magkaka-breakout sa mga tayo.
Gina?
G.
Okay.
Hi, hello. Narinig niyo ako?
Opo.
Ayan, okay. So, ayan, before we proceed muna dun sa SR natin, clarify ko lang ulit yung mga documents mo, guys. So, later on, i-send ko yung mga questions, right? Pero, we will have 10 minutes to have tutorial or to write down kung ano yung, or to ponder on kung ano yung mga thoughts natin or ano yung mga reflections natin we had during nung SR or yung lecture about mental health. And ayun, we'll share each other, pero brief lang kasi we only have 30 minutes. So, we can share naman, but yung parang point lang. So, we have, I think we have 3 questions or 2. Tapos, ano na lang. Siguro we can summarize it naman kasi magka-connect naman. So, ayun, before we proceed muna, let's introduce ourselves briefly kasi magiging small group natin from today until tomorrow. So, ayun, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kuya Neil, isa akong PC, graduating volunteer sa Northern Luzon Regional Unit. So, galing talaga akong MMRU, tapos pinadap ako dito sa NL, kasi base ako ngayon dito sa Baguio. So, ayan, short description about me, I'm studying Masters in Social and Development Studies dito sa UP Baguio. I graduated from UP Diliman.
Sige, welcome back po sa ating main room. While waiting for the others, as we have heard kay Ate Lu kanina, we'll have our question and answer this time. So, affirm pala sa ating mga sharing. We have 27 small groups sa Leadership Summit. Andito po ba si Ate Lu?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, hello.
Hello. So, kumbaga the floor is open for any reactions, any questions that you may have. If you're kind of shy, you can type your question in the chat box. But if you're, you can say your question, or I know you can raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you and allow you the floor. So anybody can start. Okay, matakot. May nag-type na ba? So how was your sharing time? Anybody wants to share any insights or any benefit that you may have experienced from your breakout session? It was meant to allow you to at least unload or unburden some of the things that you may have felt the past several months, di ba? So,
May question
ayan.
na po.
Ayan. So, what can you advise po for us on how to approach a person with depression? So, ano to? This is somebody that you know, uh, somebody in the family perhaps. Basically kasi, ang person with depression will actually withdraw from people. Isa yan sa mga signs na actually something's wrong with them if they're not, kumbaga, behaving or interacting with you as they used to do. So, pagka nasa-sense nyo na may bout with depression, just continue encouraging or approaching the person. Parang yung may isang cartoon yan yung kay Pooh, Winnie the Pooh and si Piglet. Parang si Piglet was kind of depressive. Pero what the friends did was, since hindi sumasama, hindi lumalabas, they went to him. Parang ganon. And tapos sabi niya nga, I'm not such good company right now. So you might as well parang not bother because I cannot be parang good company. Sagot naman ng friends, it's okay. You don't have to be parang you to exert effort to be good company. We'll just be here with you. So sometimes you really don't need to say a lot or do a lot, but just be present. Medyo mahirap ngayon because you cannot physically visit the person, but at least in connecting, maybe checking up on the person on a regular basis, or texting the person saying that you're thinking of him and you're praying for him. Yun, those things can help a person going through depression. Pero kung talagang nag-worsen, might be good to encourage the person to seek professional help. Kasi minsan hindi na-address kung ini-ignore lang yung what the person is going through. So maybe a trained counselor will be able to at least process in a deeper way and enable the person to find ways and means to deal with the issue. Mas may intervention na mabibigay. So I hope that answers that question. Na-skip ko pala yung isang question, yung is it okay to socially distance yourself from family if they were your primary stressors? Socially distancing can help for a while. At least it will lessen the immediate tension. But ideally, when you are having a problem with somebody, pag bumaba ng konti yung emotional high, whether that's anger or frustration or whatever, and you're in a more logical frame of mind, ideally you will reconnect with the person and try to reconcile the issues that are causing the rift or the conflict or the stress. You cannot continually avoid the person just because may stress that um, is produced when you're with a person. The best way, sabi nga, to deal with it is to eliminate the issues that are causing the tension between you and the person. So when you're in a better frame of mind, maybe you've prayed about it, mas kalmado ka na, and the other person is also in a listening mode or in a more understanding stance, mas pwede nyo nang i-address yung problem. You do not attack the person, but you need to address the problem with the person. Is that okay? I think the question was from Rowena and Naomi. So did I answer that? You can do a follow-up question if kulang pa. If ano. So let's go to the next question. Ano po yung mga pwede nyo po i-advise if may mga friends or loved ones po kayo that suffer from anxiety and depression, pero ayaw po nila i-open yung nararamdaman nila? Ano po yung mga dapat gawin pag ganon? Pag unwilling kasi to open up, that means kulang pa yung sense of safety or hindi pa established yung trust that maybe you will understand yung pinagdadaanan nila. Kasi kaya hindi naman nag-open up ang mga tao kadalasan kung tingin nila ay hindi naman makakatulong yung pag-open up, baka mas makasama pa. Because syempre may risk involved when they open themselves up to you. So if the person is kind of unsure on whether they can trust you, maybe you can build muna that trust. You can assure the person that you are there not to judge, but to be a listener, that you will not, offer unsolicited advice, but you'll just journey with the person. And kung ano man pwede mong itulong, you will be willing to give that, and that will be a commitment on your part. Kasi that's how you can build the trust. And ang doon, hindi mo po puwersahin, kundi it will just come naturally pagka nagdi-deepen na yung connection mo din with the person. Kung hindi naman talaga mo din kaya to be able to listen and offer help, maybe you can just accompany, like pwede kitang i-samahan or i-refer or hanap ka ng person na baka si ate or kuya ganyan can help. But ang best gift mo would be your time and your presence. Yun yung mahirap mag-assume na you know what to do, but to love the person regardless of what his or she is going through is the best gift you can give. Yun. So I hope that answers you. So, paano po i-deal yung person na may anxiety and depression through social media lang po? Oo nga, very limited yung abilities natin ngayon to come alongside. Nag-correct si Eeyore pala yung depressive, hindi si Piglet. Si Piglet, si Pooh, at saka si ang pumunta kay Eeyore. Okay, thank you for that. Oo nga. So, sometimes we have friends like Eeyore, di ba, who kind of suffers from depression and withdraws. So, kung halimbawa yung friend mo na yun ay nagwi-withdraw, paano mo i-deal through social media? Hopefully, mag-open up pa siya ng ng messenger niya or ng Viber niya or ng makikipag-Zoom meeting pa siya sa'yo if ever. Pero pagka kasi nagwi-withdraw talaga, baka not even to check his messages will be available. So, ito baka pwedeng best would be to call. Kung may mobile siya, kung di niya papatayin yung mobile niya, the best intervention pa rin would be to call, voice call, check up on the person, and even if hindi masyadong warm yung response niya, just keep on doing it, parang being present. Kung hindi man physically present at this time, pwedeng send encouraging messages. Ako minsan pag may nabasa ako na parang appropriate, I share. Di ko alam kung minsan binubuksan pa nung person, but I just want the person to know that I'm thinking of him or of her, and I'm just, a message away kung sakali. So, persistence ang pwedeng ano dito through social media. Wag lang public, no? The best ano pa rin talaga is approach in private. So, direct messages, private messages. Yan. May difficulty lang kung hindi mo alam kung ino-open nila, but do pray that it will connect somehow kahit na paminsan-minsan mabuklat niya yung messages mo. So, another question, how can we best approach a person who was resistant to be helped, but one can see that he or she really needs immediate help? You cannot force help on anybody. Help can only be given when it is asked for, or when it is at least willingly received. Kasi it will be an imposition, or it will be parang pushing it, or parang violation din ng boundaries if you push the help that you want to give, and then it will no longer be appreciated and it will be counterproductive. So the best help will be to continue assuring the person that you're around, that if the time comes that this person would reach out, you're there. And yun yung i-anticipate mo. Kasi when you say that you'll be there, that means you're willing to sacrifice your time and whatever else needs to be sacrificed in order to attend to the person. Kasi kung mag-reach out yan, yun yung best opportunity to help. So, just be constant and consistent. Yun yung pwedeng best help. Pero kung ipupush mo, it will make the person even more resistant. And you will not be the right person to help pagka na-perceive ka na as pushy and you're kinda imposing your own way. So, next question.
Ayan. Thank you so much po. For those who
sige.
asked kanina
Sorry,
while ago
stop.
sa mga deny. Pero due to time constraints, hindi na masagot ni Ate Lou yung lahat ng questions. Sa mga na-type na po dito na question na hindi ko nasagot, feel free to share to your ate or kuya. Maybe makahelp sila sa inyo or mag-assure sa inyo kung sino
Or you can,
sa inyo. Ayan.
Still open. You can message me. You can, I have Messenger, Lou Mandalupe. If we're not friends yet, you can add me, and you can send me private messages, or you can email me, lumandalupe@gmail.com. Know that there's an open line of communication. If you also need to consult on other issues, that's also welcome. And kung meron kayong friends na you need to refer, you can always communicate, and we'll try to help as best as we can. Come alongside, a brother that is in need.
Thank you so much po ulit, Ate Lou. So, ita-type ko dito mamaya yung account ni Ate Lou para ma-note ng lahat. Ayan. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we acknowledge, Lord, your goodness and your faithfulness. Salamat, Panginoon, for how you have been with us, Lord God. So, morning, Panginoon, I pray, Lord, that whatever yung narinig po namin, na-share po namin kanina, continue to guide us, Lord, continue to encourage us, Lord, continue to remind us, Lord, that you are our God, that you are with us. That whatever situations we are in right now, you are with us, Lord. You are carrying us, Lord. Salamat, Panginoon, once again for our speaker, si Ate Lou, for being with us, Panginoon. And Lord, sa mga natutunan dito namin, Naway ito'y hindi lamang magstay sa amin, kundi will allow us, Lord, na share din ito namin sa mga taong malapit sa amin, Panginoon. Lord, as we end our session this morning, salamat, Panginoon, for your guidance pa yan sa amin. Salamat dahil walang internet interruption. And we are praying, Lord God, that in our next sessions, Panginoon, you will continue to bless us, Lord God, with good connection. Bless us, Lord, with an open heart and open mind, Panginoon. Kami ay patuloy open to learn for more of you, Panginoon, through this time. Salamat, Lord. Always we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
We have announcements. This afternoon, we'll be back by 2 p.m. Pero sa mga pwede na tayo mag-login by 1:40, 20 minutes before ng 2 p.m. kasi meron tayong special events. Yes, parang ano lang. Count. Ayan.
Bangkwat na ito ka na.
Hindi naman. So may special events tayo mamayang hapon. See you 1:40 p.m. Okay. At sa time na ito, pwede na mag-leave yung mga students, mga student leaders. I request or I encourage yung mga staff and volunteers to stay here for a few announcement and discussion. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. See you this afternoon.
Bye po. Thank you po.
Bye po.
Lunch
Bye. Lunch break
Bye.
na.
Ingat kayo. See you later.
Bye. Ingat sa pag-uwi.
Bye po.
Ingat po sa inyo.
Thank you po.
Lunch and share later.
Happy lunch.
Lunch
Salamat.
test na ha. Walang test na.
Lunch happy lunch.
Happy lunch. Happy lunch. Sa mga mauna na. See you mamaya.
Huwag niyang mag-siesta.
Siesta daw mo.
Fiesta.
Ay, meron pa.
Ala, nagsaalisa na ang mga estudyante. Ay, tapos na pala.
Ay, meron pa. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Hi, Mark.
Meron pa.
See you later.
Bye. Hi,
Hi, Mark. See you later.
hinahanap yung mga estudyante, no?
Wala na? Meron pa?
Meron pa ata. Meron pa.
Leave muna yung mga students.
Hi, Dexter.
Bye-bye, Mark.
Force evict.
Dexter. Bye-bye, Jessie.